The Unlikely Innovators with Mike Commito and Steve Gravel. Presented by Cambrian R&D and the Center for Smart Mining.
If you're hearing my voice, that means, of course, you've joined us for another episode of The Unlikely Innovators. Mike, how are you doing?
Steve, I am lit.
Oh, of course, that must be in reference to the guests we have on today. We have Mike and Chris from the Maryland-based startup City Bonfires, and we had a good time with them.
Yeah, no, it was really great to chat with those guys because I think you and I we had obviously done our homework on, or at least I had done my homework on the company and knew that like it was a portable bonfire company where you had, a small canister that you can have a bonfire within minutes. I think of like roasting marshmallows and things like that. But like, as we were having the conversation with the guys, I started to put like the pieces together, but like, this is perfect for those nights when Zoe wants to have a bonfire, but it's like, we're going to be like a half hour away from having roastable coals. I mean, I guess this is a dad thing, but like, it's like, no, don't roast your marshmallows over an open flame. Like, let's get a nice red hot, like coal bed. It's perfect for roasting, but it's like normally with the kids, it's like, you got to get the fire lit as soon as possible. And they're just, sticking the marshmallows right into those licking flames and trying to get the marshmallows toasted. Of course, they end up catching on fire. So I'm just thinking now ahead that like, this is an easy way to get them out of the house, to get a couple quick marshmallows in and then put the lid on, go to bed. And then if we want to have a fire after hours, we could do that ourselves. But I think it's a great product. And, the guys had some great insights to share about it today.
Yeah. And I think as you'll hear in just a moment, at the end of my voice, they have a really interesting product story and company story. So any aspiring entrepreneurs out there that think they have the next idea, this is a good instructive look at another company that took an idea and turned it into a flourishing business. So without further ado, we're going to go to the guys from City Bonfires.
So this is a first for the Unlikely Innovators. We have two guests for the price of one. We have Chris McCasland and Mike Opalski, both founders of City Bonfires. So I'll read both bios and then we'll launch into the conversation we have today. So Chris, prior to the pandemic, Chris spent more than 15 years in the concert, sports, and event ticketing industry. He was the chief procurement officer and partner at Encore Tickets, one of the highest grossing ticket brokerages in the country. After the pandemic halted all live events, Chris pivoted and started a direct-to-consumer business called City Bonfires, which we're going to talk about today. City Bonfires is a portable mini bonfire that is handmade in Maryland with American-made materials. In a few short months, City Bonfires has sold more than 250,000 units, moved into a large warehouse space in Rockville, Maryland, and Chris has hired some of his former ticketing industry colleagues to assist with fulfillment. And then we've got Mike. Mike grew up on the eastern shores of Maryland in Easton, Maryland. He went to Clemson University and has worked as a financial advisor and lead sales manager in a number of industries. Most recently, he was national account manager at Miltech USA Recycling and Waste Solutions. He's traveled all over the world as the top sales lead until the pandemic halted travel and slowed all restaurant business, which, as we know, led to City Bonfires. So guys, thanks for joining us on the Unlikely Innovators this week. It's a privilege to have you on. I know that I kind of, I think gave an overview of your career paths before you founded City Bonfires, but maybe in your own words, if you guys can provide a brief journey that you've both been on that kind of led you to this venture today.
Sure. Michael, you want to go first?
All right. So I was with Miltech. It was we were running a sales organization. We were focusing on fast food restaurants and helping them recycle some of their products. So it had me traveling probably 2-3 weeks a month. I was running a team of 5 nationally, different regions. And so I was gone a fair amount of time. And so, Chris and I are neighbors and we kind of saw each other a little bit, but it was more of like a neighborly, like, hey man, how you doing type relationship. That's all prior to COVID.
And I was, like you said, in the live event industry for quite some time. That was pretty much the only, job I had as an adult was in the live event, concerts, sports, theater, ticketing space. And, I would go to my office from 8 to 6 every day, work Monday through Friday. I didn't travel nearly as much as Michael did, but I would travel for large events, like Super Bowl and World Series and different things to work. But it's just COVID, and the pandemic brought so much different perspective into life. And it was normal to travel 3 weeks out of the month for Michael and, to sit at a desk all day long every day. But COVID, surely changed that for obviously not just us, for quite a few people.
For sure. And I thanks so much, guys, for coming on the podcast. And we often ideas for businesses. The people we have on the show often come from unlikely places. How did you get the idea to take what we all know and love as the concept of the bonfire and shrink it down into something much more accessible? Where did the idea come from for the product?
The idea came from being stuck at home with our kids and trying to entertain them, and we realized how hard of a job I think teachers have during that time.
Exactly.
But yeah, we were at home. We were trying to keep the kids entertained. We were using fire pits and whatnot in the backyard and making s'mores. And at the same time during the day, I was trying to learn, I shouldn't say during the day, at night, actually, once the kids were asleep, we were trying to learn Shopify, different e-commerce things, and kind of knew that was a big way the world was shifting, especially during those COVID times. And just trying to come up with a product that we could sell. And at first we thought of like a tie-dye kit to sell, and City Bonfires was the next thought, and kind of entertaining our kids, and then also looking for that product to sell. It all kind of came together.
For me, it was an interestingly introspective time. I had this job. I was, doing well in it. I felt it was something I enjoyed doing, and then everything came to a halt. And so I was trying to figure out what to do with my head, because there wasn't much I could put focus into. I was listening to a lot of podcasts. Chris and I were becoming friends. Chris had this idea, and he had this view into, the e-commerce world, which I understood, but not to any level like he did. And he was going to pursue that. And so I was really excited just to kind of walk along with him while I figured it out. I figured it's kind of like cutting edge stuff. It's the way retail business is going. How could we not learn something that would be beneficial just pursuing it?
And that's so funny, because I think I have a similar story. And I mean, you guys are in Maryland and we're in Northern Ontario, but like when that pandemic first hit in the winter, we had so many bonfires out in the backyard just because same reason, like it was the only thing we could do, that it was so cold, but like you couldn't go anywhere and really do anything. But at least you set up a fire, you could roast some marshmallows, keep, our oldest entertained for a little bit until she, reached her marshmallow quota. But yeah, I think for sure a lot of I think parents through the pandemic can relate to that, just trying to find innovative ways to kind of keep everybody sane, maybe outside of the house, occupied, those types of things. But I've got like the final product that you guys are selling here now. And obviously with a lot of the innovators that we talk to on the podcast, or just in the folks that we work with in our line of work, we see how the initial design or concept kind of evolves from that first prototype to where you get the finished product that you bring to market. Can you talk a little bit about the early prototyping process and maybe some of the changes you guys made, to those first proof of concepts before you got to, the final product that you now have today?
Michael, you could tell them the funny tuna story there if you want.
So Chris and I were trying to figure out, a way to have this and have it small and convenient. So we had gone to the grocery store and we were just looking at cans. We were going to Walmart and just looking like what cans, kind of get idea size. And so we
up and down every aisle, not just food, anything really.
Yeah, it was just literally anything that came in a can. What do you think about that can? How would the top work, right? And so we started off with some Danish cookies. They come in the tin, yeah. The big tin. We tried those, and there was some issues with that we weren't happy with. And then so we have this idea. We think it's going to work. And so one day, because of the COVID and all the restrictions and the food shortage stuff, the tuna cans, or the normal small cans, weren't always in. So I had bought some of the next size up can. And so I was making tuna for lunch, just trying to, get through the day. And as I opened it, I looked, and it's the way the can was made seamless solved the problem we have. So I literally like scooped the tuna out, poured it in to make tuna salad. And I looked in the bottom of the can. I look over to my wife and I'm like, I got to go talk to Chris. I was like, I think we've solved our problem, because in the bottom corner, we didn't want an open seam. We wanted it to be a solid piece. Mm-hmm. And so that was a fun part of our journey in trying to identify the can.
Yeah, and I think a bit more about sort of the idea I wanted to touch on, guys. I've had a chance to talk to a lot of innovators over time, and sometimes an idea is a great idea in your head, and then maybe you got one buddy that thinks it's a good idea, but then you talk to the rest of the world and it's like, no one's going to buy this. But for you guys, what was that moment early on in a company's lifespan? You get that sort of first few flickers of validation from the market that enough people are going to buy this that we can actually make a go of this. Can you talk a bit about that process? What were those validation points where you knew like we can actually move some product here?
I think, with our neighbors, obviously, but like you said, your friends are going to be, supportive. Our neighbors were really into it, and we saw some good signs right away with how our Facebook ads and Instagram ads were going, and that allowed us to rev it up a little bit, and that really allows you to scale your whole business. As long as you're not paying too much for the ads and you're still making money, you can turn up your ad spend as much as Amex will let you until they decline you. Yeah, so that obviously is a big help. But there was one, maybe a month or so, 6 weeks after we really started going, a local radio host started talking about it, and it wasn't a paid spot. We had sent him one, weeks before, just to send him one. And we also happened to be in like a local newspaper the day before, and he read about us, and he started talking about it on air. And then one of like the assistants of the co-anchor was like, "Oh, this company sent you one. It's on your desk." So they literally, they're all talking, and they walk to the broadcaster's desk. His name's Elliot Siegel, major radio guy at DC 101, like our local rock station here. And so they walk to his desk, bring it back, and he goes crazy. They light it in the studio, and they're talking about it. And it ended up being 17 minutes of him talking just about our product throughout his show. And that was a major springboard of getting people to the site, and and being able to give them ads and things like that, and follow them around. That was a major springboard to seeing what it could really do and what people like about it.
And we were really fortunate, we bought a couple, we tried to sell them, and we sold them. We bought more, we sold those. We bought more, we sold those. It was really, we were really fortunate in the path. It was something that the market obviously liked.
Yeah, and what an exciting thing to have happen too, right? Once you start seeing it, it goes beyond your core group of trusted advisors, your friends, your family, and then it's like holy shit, this is actually gonna turn into something, right? It's an exciting time to get that validation back, right?
Oh yeah, we worked very, very hard on getting together, and spilled a lot of wax all over the garage.
Yeah.
But I'm sure with that radio spot, was there a part of you that was like, it's for outdoor use only, don't use it indoors?
Yeah, but we make that very clear on the website, and lots of warnings. So, and we made it, we message them and blah, they don't care, but
yeah.
They like, you should be happy that we even talked about you.
No doubt.
I think in that case, all publicity is good publicity, right? But obviously, I'm sure as business owners, you're conscious of those disclaimers. But and you guys kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, Chris, when you were talking about like looking at e-commerce platforms. But one of the things we wanted to ask you was obviously with the industry experience that you guys had in your respective fields, you certainly had that you could bring to the table. But what was the biggest learning curve for you guys in bringing a new product to market? Like, was it the manufacturing supply chain issues? Was it the e-commerce platform you mentioned? What did you guys, I guess, struggle with the most that you had to overcome to get City Bonfires to market?
I think, for me, I would say is learning about the ads, and the Facebook ads and Instagram ads, because that's really where the money's made. Because if you're not watching that so closely and it's goes higher, and you're paying $40 for a sale, and you really need to be paying 15, whatever it may be, that could go out of whack in just like that in a split second, and you go from making money to losing money every day. And that is something that we've outsourced to to an incredible team. This team, they're called Honest Agency, ONIST Agency, and they've done an incredible job, and they've taught us a ton about it too. But no way we could ever do that alone.
And neither of us were in manufacturing before, so I mean that was all stuff that needed to be learned. But it just like the path of buying the initial cans and selling them, I mean, all the hurdles were stuff we could get through. We wanted to have all the stuff American made because the supply chain was problematic. And so we figured if we got all the stuff local, we at least, worst case scenario, we could get in a car or send a truck and get it. And so, all that stuff worked out for us. And there were decisions, there were things we've done that we've learned from, but it was all we were very fortunate in the way the path played out.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you about American Made in a second, because it seems to be pretty core to your business from day one. I wanted to also ask you about in Canada, and I'm sure there's these things, everywhere in the States too, but we refer to something as a startup ecosystem. So like a group of other companies, other sort of quasi-governmental organizations that help companies start up. Do you have something like that in your community? Did you take advantage of any, or was it all just bootstrapping and hard work right from the beginning?
There's a small business thing, but we didn't do anything. We didn't utilize them.
Yeah, we like the United States has the SBA, the Small Business or whatever alliance. Yeah. And people take loans from them and stuff, but we didn't take advantage of that. We really we controlled as much as we could possibly control without putting up too much money to lose. And we had a really good feeling that it was going to work.
Yeah, and I think there's a main difference between Canadian and American risk taking right there. It seems like Canadians need a wholly startup ecosystem to make sure that you're willing to take the personal and business risk. But I think you guys are a bit more daring, which is probably why you're also leading the world in new startups and things like that. But I wanted to ask you about American Made, and this isn't a political podcast, I should mention, but I'll tie it into something I heard on the State of the Union address last night. So when we're doing this podcast the night before, your president gave a statement about buying American and how important that is. And of course, your entire supply chain for this product is made in America. How important is that to you and your company goals? I know you said that it's because of supply chain interruptions, but do you plan on maintaining that as a core value for the company forever?
Absolutely. Yeah, that is our main goal. We pay a lot more for certain materials than we have to, than we'd have to, I guess you could say. But we don't even think twice about that. To us, that's not even part of the bit. I'd rather be a waiter, somewhere. I don't want to support anything other than that. This is why we're here, is to help each other.
Yeah, it was a core part of the business from the beginning. So it's been in the numbers the whole time, that the cost differentials, and we can make it work. And why not, help as locally as you can. I mean, what we're learning is there's benefits to the global economy, but we can't forget the local economy either.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what a great thing. I mean, consumer products, everyone thinks of offshore production, but I mean, what a great story to be able to show to others that might have that next idea, that you could do it all American and you can make a go of it and be successful, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you have the beautiful benefit where in the 10, 20, 30 years ago, when you opened a store, you had the retail store and you only had the people who'd walk by that retail store. Yeah. Now you have the opportunity to open it up so much wider. So, why not produce it as simply and like Chris said earlier, I mean, we really could have as much control as you could of the supply chain. And that was a real benefit to us.
And Mike, to pick up on what you said about how you can expand beyond, I think, the traditional boundaries of retail, obviously in the advent of the age of social media. And that's truthfully how we found you guys. Our admin assistant, Pam Druan. So I'll say her name to see if she actually listens to the podcast. She said, you guys should have these guys on. They have 80 something thousand followers on Instagram. They've got a really cool product. What about them? So, I mean, that's an example where you've been able to leverage social media and, your company in Maryland, but you've now got eyeballs in Sudbury, Ontario, 4 hours north of Toronto. How you mentioned how you've outsourced a lot of that to another company that's kind of helped you kind of elevate it. But have you guys, what has been your response to, I think seeing the growing trend on social media where you guys you've got a pretty sizable following and it's obviously only going to continue to grow?
It's really incredible the way that people interact on there. That's how people spend their time. They're not watching shows and stuff. They're watching, quick 20-second videos on their phone, and I read yesterday that TikTok is allowing up to 10-minute videos now. So it's just going to like be like little mini series that people can watch in an hour, you know, and it's going to take over TV. So it's really neat what it can do there.
Mhm.
And Chris and I were open to, putting ourselves out there a little bit, right? I mean, you have to put some of yourself out there. And when people ask us, when our team's discussing stuff and they're like, let's do this, Chris and I are like, all right, let's try it.
Yeah, and I think the story of the company really purports well to the medium of like videos and telling stories, right? Because it's such a lifestyle story linked brand, right?
Very much. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a quick question about Canada. I already mentioned it too many times because we want to sort of be an international focused podcast, but a lot of people think of Canada as a rural place, you could do bonfires in your backyard and no one will see them, right? But we do have suburban and urban centers that can't do that, as there are anywhere in the world. What has the response been like from fire lovers, north of the border in Canada for your product?
They're very high. We have people reaching out every day to be distributors for us up there, and it's been really good in Canada, and people really seem to love it. Especially like you were saying, you don't have to have 2 acres of land, or even a half. You could still have some good land, but you could be in a small, you could be a small apartment and go outside, and go on your deck or whatever it may be, or your patio, and put it on something not flammable. But you don't have that option, if you're in the city. And also another thing is, even if you do have a little land and you want to have a fire, you have to monitor the fire, and you have to make sure that it goes out. If you want to have s'mores after dinner with your kids, you got to set up the fire, you got to get the fire going, you got to get them out there, and then 10 minutes into it, they're done with it. Then you got to go get them in bed, make sure the fire's not blowing around. Where you light the 4 wicks of the City Bonfire, minute and a half later, the thing's rolling.
Mm-hmm.
If that, and you're doing your s'mores 90 seconds in, and you slide the lid over, you literally could have s'mores in 3 minutes and be completely done. If you want to do, then there's people that sit on their front porch and drink wine and just have it burning next to them. There's people that put it in their backpack, for like a bug out bag, or preppers, things that's obviously really big right now. People searching a lot of that everywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So the endless use case has really helped a lot too. And we didn't even know about it.
Yeah, the convenience of it as well. I mean, yeah, you're right that you can make it, if you have the wood and you have the space, you can make any bonfire anywhere. But the convenience of it was something we really saw hit a note. And there's, like Chris was saying, there's some people that just aren't comfortable with fire. I mean, fire is dangerous. And so, the fact that this is contained and you can so easily put it out, appeases some people.
That's so good, because I hadn't considered that, because whenever we have fires here, we have a nice fire pit in our backyard, but it is always such a production, right? Because you've got to chop the wood, and sometimes you got to chop the kindling. You've got to get it going, and then you want to get it to a nice point before you get some nice coals so you can roast them. And then the kids lose interest after they've had their 3rd or 4th marshmallow. And it's like, okay, it's time to go. And it's like, but I just built this fire. Like, we're not going to sit out here and enjoy this huge fire that I just built.
Yeah.
So it's like,
exactly.
I think like after dinner, like I have one here right beside me. And I'm just thinking ahead to the summertime or even the winter that, rather than doing all of that work, and we'll still do that when we want to enjoy like fires ourselves, but that's an easy win for the kids. They get their sugar fix, and you're not outside, chopping wood with the bugs biting you.
Yeah, I mean, there's no brainer sitting around a huge fire with all your friends. No chance for that anything better than that, in my opinion. But this is just so cool and convenient, and you can set it up and be done in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's just a different use to have a fire. Not to take away from the great times around a bonfire. But not everybody can do that. Like we said. So this brings a little bit of that to everybody.
Yeah, and it's a daily use thing, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's what I think that's so cool about it. If you want to use it daily for different purposes, you have it available, right?
Yeah, you can put it out and then relight it as many times as you want until the wax burns out.
Yeah, you get about 4 hours. So however you choose to use it, whether it's one time or put it out multiple times, you're still going to get about between 3 and 4 hours of burn time.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Hey, you guys have been super generous already with your time. I was going to ask a question. Mike, you went to Clemson, right?
Yes, sir.
Are you a Clemson football fan?
Definitely. Definitely.
What the hell is Jacksonville doing with the once in a lifetime talent of Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea. I'd hope maybe they'll get him some offensive linemen. Let him stand back there and do what he can do. But we're watching. I know he can do it, so they just have to get him protection.
Yeah, or do you think he's going to have to leave to get more to get better results?
I mean, that time will tell, right? If they get him the lineman and it works, it seems that he has weapons around him from just as someone watching. But
Yeah.
I have high hopes for him. I mean, he did really well in college, and I can't see why he wouldn't succeed at the next level.
Yeah, when I heard you went to Clemson, I had to ask you that because I watch a lot of NCAA football, and just he was a joy to watch. And now for this to happen, it's like what a waste,
This is also an Unlikely Innovators first. Normally, I'm the one trying to make a hockey reference, and this I think is the first time that Steve's had a guest on that he could talk about football with. So, like,
Yeah.
it's another first. But before we let you guys go, because you have been generous with your time, we did want to ask you this, just because obviously, the product is great, and I could see, a lot of potential there, especially now that I've kind of made the realization in my own mind of all the things that I'm going to use it for here. But like, do you guys have an idea of like, where do you go from here? Do you have any other ideas that you can share with where you want to take the company? Anything in the works that you can talk about?
Yeah, we have multiple new products that we're planning to come out with that are going through some testing right now. Just some different ideas of an outdoor, same type of fire, but with a eucalyptus scent. So like a bug repellent,
Nice.
but with natural eucalyptus, or what was the other scent, Michael? I'm sorry. Citronelle. Sorry. So we have that. There's some other candles that we're thinking about, maybe a fire starter. We have a lot of good ideas coming.
Yeah, in the same vertical segment. I mean, we're looking just to expand the offering and make it match what you have the great opportunity here with Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, all these things that you can get information back. And so we're trying to listen to what the market's telling us.
Yeah, it's true. That feedback's really key. And I could tell you, if you make one that's bug repellent, I think Mike and I will up our orders big time, because the mosquitoes and black flies in Ontario in the spring and summer are horrendous. So
that we got them bad here too. So trust me, working on it.
Yeah. If anything can bring, can build cross-border relationships, I think it's our disdain for bugs. So, but guys, I was gonna say thanks so much for carving out the time and telling us about your really cool product, and we wish you all the success. And maybe when you come out with some more product lines, we'll have you back to tell more of the Canadian market about what you guys are up to.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us.
Our pleasure, guys.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks again. Thanks care.
So much. All right, we're back. That was a great chat, Mike, as always, with Chris and Mike from City Bonfires. And I have to ask you, before we go any further, you talked about the sort of coal bed that you need. What is your preferred doneness on a marshmallow?
Yeah, that's a great question. I like just like a nice medium brown coating all around. Like I strive for that. It takes some patience and some diligence to just, rotate it enough to get the coverage all around.
Yeah. You can't be overeager. You can't be overeager with it, right?
No, I mean, the thing that we used to do as kids, and, maybe this will like give some insights into my own mind, and, people can make their judgments there, but used to do you'd roast the outside, take the outer layer off, eat that, and then roast the inside again.
Whoa.
So you do the double roast until eventually there was nothing left. But
it's a two-step process.
But Zoe's in this phase right now where like she likes them. I don't know if she likes them burnt, like caught on fire. I think it's more of like a function of that's how she roasts marshmallows, to the point that they catch on fire and then we have to blow them out. But I guess, what's your preferred doneness for a marshmallow?
Well, can I say this? I don't like marshmallows.
Oh, come on. Of course.
I prefer a roasted hot dog.
Okay. Are you doing?
I do the spider.
Their spider dog.
I'll do the spider dog. If I drop it in the fire, in the coal bed, I'll pick it up. Even I'm not beyond picking the ashes off it. But if I were to have to like choose a marshmallow, because I do like it on a s'more sometimes. I'd have to go with you, like a golden color, molten inside, a bit of a crunch on the outside. My wife, of course, burns hers, and I think she's a psychotic for doing that. But I think most people like the medium brown.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I guess when I was thinking about the spider dogs, like it's just we'd almost have to have like a chemist on the podcast to explain to us like how by splitting it open you change the flavor profile dramatically from just like having a hot dog on the barbecue. It is really the only way to eat a hot dog over an open fire is the spider dog approach.
Yeah. If you're not spider dogging, are you really even having?
What are you even doing? Why are you even doing it? Don't even.
You know,
bother.
we should have Tim McRoberts back on to ask him, because he's a chef and runs a culinary institute. I don't think that place is serving spider dogs, though, if I'm being honest.
Maybe they're doing an elevated spider dog. Like that would be an interesting concept for a restaurant, right? Is the elevated deconstructed spider dog.
Yeah. But I think, Mike, we're going to be doing a giveaway for this podcast. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So we had, again, I'll shout out Pam again to check if she's listening. Pam found City Bonfires through Instagram, and we got connected and had them on the pod. I think given where we are here in Sudbury, it's a great product to have in like as a, to kind of complement, fire pits that people have. I think just the ease of use and the convenience is kind of, you're always going to have a need for that, versus it's not going to take away, like the guy said, from having your friends over and having a roaring fire. But I think on those nights when you're looking for a quick fix for a marshmallow or a s'more, it's a great idea. So again, we picked up a couple of these. We've got an event coming up soon. And I think we're going to be giving some of these away to some of our volunteers who are working with us at the Student Innovation Challenge, which is at the end of the month at Cambrian. But we are going to give this away on our social media feeds. And so actually City Bonfires, they also do a s'mores kit. So for you, Steve, you can get your s'mores fix. We do have the actual City Bonfire kit here, but we do have a s'mores kit that will go with it. So it includes the graham crackers, the chocolate, the marshmallows. Let me ask you one more thing. What kind of chocolate do you use for your s'more?
Okay. All right. I see where you're going with this. Have you ever tried this celebration cookie?
Actually, I have done that. I don't know if it was you that told me that, but that was definitely it's a go-to.
Yeah, I like milk chocolate. I know some people like the dark hard chocolate. I like a milk chocolate for my s'more. What about you?
Well, okay, so I'll hit you with this one, because this is how we did a lot of camping when I was a kid, and that was like our summer vacations were at the campsite. And when we did s'mores, it was Nutella spread onto the graham cracker. So you didn't have to wait, because if you have like a chunk of like Hershey's chocolate, it's never going to melt enough, like with the heat of the marshmallow, right?
On those cool summer nights, sometimes they don't get
that squishiness that you want, right? So we use Nutella, spread that on. I mean, the problem with that is that you've got to have like a knife and all that stuff. Like, I mean, but definitely the celebration cookies are the way to go, because then you've got everything already sandwiched in there. You just put your marshmallow in between, and there you go.
My wife, as a Finn person, she actually does some insane things sometimes. Like a lot of the time we have like sandwiches, and Finn people do the open face. They don't do the closed sandwich. They have the open face canapé sandwich.
Yeah.
Does the same thing with s'mores sometimes. And
no lid on the top?
No lid. You're not getting the heat closure. There's a whole physics.
Well, and how do you actually eat it?
She just eats it. She doesn't have a mustache like mine
I guess
to get
true.
it all in. So but no, she for her faults, she's a great s'mores cook.
Well, I guess we'll find out if Tanya listens to this podcast, because you'll be getting an earful if she does.
For sure. But anyway, it was great to have these guys on. I think they're going to be successful if they keep their eye on what the clients want. And it seems it's another great story of how social media has really elevated a company's progress. So great to have them on. And if you're lucky enough to get the City Bonfire giveaway, you have to invite Mike and I over for s'mores.
It's in our contract. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
The Unlikely Innovators with Mike Commito and Steve Gravel. Presented by Cambrian R&D and the Center for Smart Mining.